They called her Ms. Weaver. Elegant. Controlled. Sharp as a blade. She taught advanced ethics at St. Augustine Preparatory Academy, a secluded private school nestled in the northern hills. Her students were elite, the children of politicians, oligarchs, diplomats, and old-blood families who owned islands and nations like shares in a company. But what no one outside knew was that St. Augustine's wasn't a school. It was a test. And Ms. Weaver wasn't just a teacher. She was the final exam. The new semester began with 15 students in her class. She watched them file in. Each wore the mask of confidence. That smug look of privilege that comes from knowing you'll inherit the world, regardless of what you do. She smiled thinly. They didn't know. They never did. "Good morning," she said, her voice crisp, deliberate. "I am Ms. Weaver. This is Advanced Ethics. In this course, we will study morality, choice, consequence, and power. But more importantly," she paused, locking eyes with a boy in the second row, "we will study you." Some squirmed. One girl rolled her eyes. "Each week, there will be a lesson. Each week, someone will fail. And failure, here, is terminal." Laughter. Of course. They always thought it was a joke at first. By Friday, they wouldn't. St. Augustine's was founded during the Cold War. A training ground for the next generation of leaders who might need to make unspeakable decisions. It was originally run by the state, then by private interests far more dangerous. Each teacher had their own methods. Poison. Manipulation. Mind games. Some used brute force. Others used betrayal. But Ms. Weaver specialized in exposure. She didn't kill her pupils directly. She made them destroy each other. Her first lesson was simple. Who among you is unworthy? They had until Friday to submit a name. A single sheet of paper. Anonymous. No justification needed. They all submitted. Even the sweet ones. By Friday night, a car took Milo Henderson, son of a Canadian weapons contractor, off campus. His dorm was emptied by dawn. His things incinerated. On Monday, his name was never spoken again. Only 14 left. Lesson 2 was about loyalty. Ms. Weaver handed each student a file. Each file contained secrets about one of their classmates. Some were true. Some were false. All were dangerous. The instruction was clear: do nothing. Speak nothing. Burn the file. It was a trap, of course. She had cameras in every hallway, microphones in every dorm. By Thursday, 2 students had whispered to others. Tried to use the files as leverage. By Friday, both were gone. The class was down to 12. By now, the mood in class was hushed, tight. The students began dressing more soberly. They no longer looked at their phones. They watched each other like foxes in a snare. "I want you to bring me something," Ms. Weaver said, pacing the room. "Something you truly care about. A token of weakness. A piece of your soul." They returned the next day with heirlooms, diaries, USB drives, photos. She accepted them all. But she only burned one. That night, Tatiana Volkov found her dog dead in the common room. Skinned. Her heirloom locket placed delicately in its mouth. Tatiana didn't show up to class Friday. 10 remained. By now, the students were tense. Paranoid. Some whispered about escape, but the campus was locked, more prison than school. Ms. Weaver's next lesson was about truth. "You each have a booth," she said, gesturing toward 12 tall wooden structures placed around the lecture hall. "You will step inside. Speak your deepest secret aloud. No cameras. No microphones. Just your guilt and your voice." They complied. But Ms. Weaver had lied. Of course there were cameras. Hidden in the eyes of the Virgin Mary carved above each booth. She heard every word. One girl confessed to killing her twin. One boy confessed to abusing a servant. Another admitted to watching his cousin drown. She didn't need to decide who left that week. The students turned on Jasper Lynn, the boy with the drowning story. They drugged his tea and left him in the greenhouse. He never woke up. 9 remained. Ms. Weaver began naming the days by numbers, not names. Day 24, she said. Lesson 6, Justice. She divided the students into triads. Gave each group a single mission. Uncover a crime committed by one of the other groups, and punish it. What followed was 3 days of stalking, theft, and blackmail. By Sunday, one student, Lena Patel, was missing an eye. The triad that had attacked her, claiming she cheated on entrance exams, were rewarded with warm meals and temporary immunity. The other groups? Left in freezing dorms. Lena didn't return. 8 remained. One of them broke. Emilio Grant, heir to a South African mining empire, smashed through Ms. Weaver's office window and tried to stab her. She didn't resist. She simply stepped aside, caught his wrist, and whispered, "Wrong test." Then she let him fall. He broke his neck on the stone floor. 7 remained. Now came the real test. "Each of you has been chosen," she said on day 33. "But only one will leave." There was silence. They had known. Deep down, they had always known. Lesson 7 was about reflection. She gave each student a dossier on themselves. A complete psychological profile. Every lie, every weakness, every crime. "You will defend yourself in the court of truth," she said. "Your peers will judge you." Each day, one student stood trial. The others acted as jury. After each defense, a vote was cast. On day 36, Isabel Moreau was voted out. On day 37, Noor Al-Fade. Then Lucas Weinberg. By day 40, only 3 remained. Eli Hawthorne, a manipulative, brilliant strategist. Rena Aoki, who hadn't spoken in days. And Marcel, the quiet one. The observer. Ms. Weaver invited them to her chambers. For the first time, they saw the school's records. Photographs of all past students. Only 1 photo per year. Only 1 survivor. "You were never here to learn," she said. "You were here to be shaped. Broken. Forged." She handed each a knife. "Only one of you leaves. Decide how." She closed the door behind her. 3 hours later, Rena stumbled out. Bleeding. Shaking. Her knife untouched. The others had turned on each other. She had watched them kill. She didn't have to lift a finger. St. Augustine's closed for the season. Ms. Weaver submitted her report. Rena Aoki, selected. Profile complete. Full asset readiness within 6 months. She returned home that evening. Her garden was in bloom. A raven perched on the gate. She poured herself a glass of wine. Outside, another envelope arrived. A new list. 15 names. A new class. A new year. And one day, perhaps, a new final exam.